Ni wern narik dien, wadarang aktunuk, makbarian wadarang bagaruk, manamaith mirabea, nailinga wadarang bake, karingarabu bunjo the ego, wa the crow, kimbani ba Diane Gilson. Welcome to Wadarang Country.
Live from Wadarang Country, welcome to Lance TV. Coming to you from the palatial New Camp Street Studios in Ballarat, get ready to laugh, think, love and sparkle. And now, it's time to turn that camp dial all the way up to fabulous. Here's your host, the multi-award-winning Lance-tastic, Lance de Boyle.
Amazing, amazing. There we go. Welcome to Lance TV. I'm Lance de Boyle. We're coming to you live from Wadarang Country, the final resting place of Bonjour the Eagle here in Ballarat in beautiful Western Victoria. As you can tell, we have a live studio audience. We actually have a brand new set. Do you like it? Do you like it? I actually made it myself. Huh? Amazing. On the show tonight we have the most wonderful Minister Harriet Shing. That's not the round of applause you gave us for Harriet Shing before the show. On the show tonight we have the amazing Minister Harriet Shing. Amazing, amazing. Come on, let's sit down, let's all sit together. If you've got a drink, drink up. Life's going to be great. After all of that fun, I just would like to start the show with a bit of a chat about Midsummer and the lateral violence that occurred at Midsummer by a bunch of protesters, reportedly condoned by the Pride Lobby Victoria, I saw on Instagram earlier today. And I just want everybody to know that lateral violence is not okay and it's something that should not be supported. I wasn't there, but I've seen enough footage and I have enough friends who have been there and they've told me that those officers that were marching were members of our community. They were trans officers, they were rainbow officers, they had their children with them and there were allies there as well. So I get, and we all understand, that there has been really quite a nasty history with the police, around the world even. But if we can't move to the future, then what will the future look like? So those people, as I said, those people who jumped out of the crowd and created a stir and pushed those police until they got the reaction they wanted on video, do not speak for me. So that's what I wanted to say about that, because if you want to make change, go and get an education and get into politics, like our special guest tonight, Minister Harriet Shing. Darling, please sit down.
Thank you so much.
Wow, I love who you're wearing.
I love your set.
My set loves you.
Who is your set wearing?
Yeah. Glitter.
I know. When I saw that, I was actually thinking that for special occasions you could change it into prance. I'm just putting it out there.
If you would like to fund us for that,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I didn't bring my oversized novelty checkbook tonight.
That would have
I'm
been
afraid.
great. Here you go. Here's the whole $1.10 to make the P.
Yeah, the P and the R.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Now you were saying you drove from home here today.
Yeah, I've been in the Latrobe Valley today, and so I drove for 743 days to get here to Ballarat, and it was worth it because it's gorgeous to be here.
And that was the short road.
It was the short road. Yeah, a few bits of congestion as we headed into the middle of Melbourne and then back out again. But yeah, it was a good drive. Saw a wedge-tailed eagle.
Bonjour.
Enormous. It was the size of, you know, like
They're
a
big.
grade 3 student.
They-
Now someone's going to want to go and do a comparison.
Well, I was in my
Yeah,
head
that's
going,
right.
yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah, what grade child was your wedge-tailed eagle experience?
And was it a tall child or a shorter child?
I would say probably the mean
Lovely,
height.
yeah.
See, I just
In the bell curve.
quoted stats to
Yeah.
you. It says firmly in the bell curve. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was
Thank
great.
you so much. This has been an interview in the making. It's been a good 2 years since we first crossed paths. I went, oh, will you be on the show? And you're like, sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm very happy to be here. I feel very privileged to be in the company of rainbow greatness.
Oh, and of course, Harriet's talking about all of you. No. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Harriet, in the first part of the show tonight, we've got a brand new segment, which is quite exciting. We're introducing queer artists from around the place.
Amazing.
And tonight is an old friend of ours, who's a young person, but an old friend of ours, Charlie Timms McLean. Let's roll the video and we'll see you after the break. Any second now, Sophie. No. No, that's the out. No. Just a stinger, that'll be fine. So we can get out of here. No. Are we on Facey now? No, we're having issues in the control room.
That's okay. Everyone has issues in their control room from time to time.
Well, isn't that's the nature of
Well, I
politics
think
at the
that's
best
a bit
of
of a
times?
metaphor, isn't it? Like if you haven't had issues in your control room, then have you lived?
No, well, no.
No, see?
No.
Living on the edge.
No. And I don't know. Well, I mean, we can talk about control rooms being Canberra as well.
I don't know. It's a metaphor for just about anything.
No. It's go on, off you go.
The kitchen of my house, you know, the car, the desk at work,
Your plate that you're eating off at the
the
time.
plate that I'm eating off, or not a plate if I'm just balanced a piece of toast on the edge of a table, you know.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's
Who's not guilty
hysterical.
of that?
Well, when you make it as
You tell
human, when
me-
you make it as human as that,
You
I
tell me
tend to.
you've never eaten toast without a plate.
I actually.
You can't, can you?
Well,
See?
yeah, you can, and I do it quite often. It just means I have to do a lot of sweeping.
No, but as long as you've actually eaten toast without a plate from time to time, that's okay. Because otherwise, I was going to be intimidated by you, and I don't want that.
No, and I don't want that either. That would be incredibly unfair.
That'd be unfair.
No.
It set our interview in a very specific trajectory.
So that's 4.5 hours you drove to get here today.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Sorry, I was just in my
No,
head
no.
going, hang on, that's a long drive.
Yeah, so at the service stations, you stop off, and you know how they have those deals where you can get, I don't know, 5 litres of very caffeinated beverage for $3.50. Like it started to be attractive to me.
You know what? I haven't had a drink for a while, and I was recently in Japan,
Yeah.
and you can get 4 litres of whiskey for $40 Australian. You can get, for $25 Australian, 4 litres of sake. And for those cigarette smokers amongst us, $6 for a packet of 20s.
They should bundle them up and sell them for $3.50, like the 2 giant bottles of, you know, heavily caffeinated beverage I was tempted to get on the way here. It's like pulling an all-nighter doing a long drive, though.
Do you do that often?
Pull all-nighters or do long drives, or both.
Wow, there you
know,
go.
I do a lot of driving, a lot of terrible karaoke. Terrible.
You're in your
There's
own car.
Like these 80s power ballads and Wind Down the Window, and you know, there's a lot of sheep out there, no doubt, really traumatised. Because they heard me like belting Bonnie Tyler out as I...
Total eclipse of the heart.
Pretty much.
Great.
Pretty much, yeah.
Talking about total eclipse of the heart, let's go to the segment I was talking about 3 minutes ago. Here is the new segment about art with Charlie Timms McLean.
Well, my name is Charlie Timms McLean, aka a friend of Dorothy, and I am a trans artist, and I also co-direct Frolic Festival. I come from a little bit of everywhere. I was born in, what's it called? That's it, yeah, I was thinking Wonthaggi, I'm like, I'm definitely not from there. So I was born in Wodonga and lived in Albury, and then through my childhood lived in a bunch of different places around New South Wales, and then moved to Victoria in 2021. I kind of think of myself as a multidisciplinary artist. I have ADHD, so I have the compulsion to try everything and master none of it. So I work in a lot of painting, drawing, printmaking, zines. I have definitely a big part of my heart. I also create digital art. I have started embroidery and I'm working on crochet. It is difficult. I do not understand how people do it. It does not make sense in my head. There was a point in my career when I thought the most powerful art was really dark and in your face. I now feel that there's such a power to art that is just taking the piss out of itself. Something like, Hello Kitty being homophobic. It's so funny to me for some reason. It's so stupid, but it has made people think and talk, and they see this little cartoon cat saying slurs and they're like, that feels weird. And then that can start a conversation about slurs being used by people who aren't, little cats. The biggest message I have in my art is just about the fact that queerness has an innate resistance to its history and to its heart. A lot of queer people have in common is a feeling of not being wanted or valid. I think that's something I love to explore in my art and show people that still exists. Even though these big banks are, putting a rainbow up every year doesn't mean that our struggles aren't real and aren't significant. I think one of the highlights for me was doing Drag Expo. It was really, really fun. I, up until that point, hadn't really been able to connect with as many people who were like me. And there was a whole convention centre full of us. We were everywhere. And getting to hear everyone's stories and being able to share mine, it was a really, really beautiful experience, because that I don't care that much about money. I don't do art as a full-time thing expecting it's going to pay the bills, because it's 2024, nothing pays the bills. I love being able to just share my thoughts, because it's not easy being able to share your thoughts all the time, so I put it in visual things and Hello Kitty saying slurs. I have some really exciting exhibitions in the next couple of months. One I'm very excited about is all about my being transgender, and in the same style of my tongue-in-cheek approach, using it as a chance to just take the piss out of myself and anyone that sees it. So you can find me on Instagram at a friend of Dorothy. It has dots in between all of the words because I want to make your life a living hell. And you can also find my artworks at TBH Studio in Bridge Mall, where you can also find a lot of queer artists who are amazing and I love them dearly. You can also find my art for sale at the Pride Centre in St Kilda every first Sunday of the month. If I'm there, you'll see me. If I'm not, I'm probably sick. So, yep, bite the next turf that you see.
Exactly. Bite the next turf you see. Put your teeth in. See what happens. We're on Facebook now, everybody. So, a bit of a casual bit because Channel 31's on ad break. And I'm looking in the thread. If you've got a question for the Minister, feel free to just drop it in the thread and I will ask the question on your behalf. Harper Francis Finitash Timmins. Yay! Chloe Rowe, yay for the first show back. Hello, darling. How's the job? And Harper Francis, Finitich Timmins, I've got a drink. Who's got a drink in here? There you go, Harper, you're not alone. You are not alone. So there you go. So far, so good. We're through the first 15 minutes of the show on Facebook.
Loving it. It's a really good vibe, isn't it? And also being able to celebrate and connect with other people from across rainbow communities is really wonderful.
Well, I really like the fact that I know that you're going to be here for an hour.
Is it only an hour?
Yeah, it is only an hour.
I'm very happy to stick around till 4 a.m. if that's a challenge.
We can stay on Facebook. We can stay on Facebook up to 8 hours. So, how's everybody going? What are you doing tonight? There you go. Excuse me, but Michaela Settle MP, you might need to run up to the bottle. I think we might be here for a while. It's a lock-in situation. No. And you might want to get some iced coffees as well, just in case.
Isn't the gravy spot still going?
I don't know. Oh, anyone? Does anyone know if the gravy spot's still going?
The gravy spot's been going since the first nugget of gold was discovered in Ballarat. Yeah, see? You know it. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the gravy and chips you never talk about the day after.
For what? Is there a particular reason for that?
It's just, it's very...
Is it shame?
It's the gravy of shame.
Live in the gravy.
Live in the gravy.
Ride in the gravy shame.
Instead of the gravy shame, that's right.
That's hilarious. How do you manage to come up with such witticisms?
Probably by accident.
Yeah, great.
And caffeine. It's the seven.
I believe in your eyes are
going,
going,
yes, I know.
caffeine.
No, middle child. So you've got to be able to, fight for attention.
Welcome back. You're watching Let's TV. I'm Lance Boyle, and here with the most impeccable Minister Harriet Shing.
I've never been called impeccable before.
Yeah, you need to get around
and
more.
now it's on the record, and it's a good
on public record.
I'm gonna hold that forever because it's
get a T-shirt
completely
made.
untrue.
I am
very,
the impeccable
very
Harriet
the
Shing.
impeccable Harriet Shing.
No.
No, it doesn't. It's a lie.
Well, only in certain circles, maybe.
Probably. That's probably right. Situational impeccability.
Oh, is that a thing?
No,
well, it is now.
It
is
not
now.
A thing. It's not a thing.
It is.
No.
I tell you what is a thing.
Yeah.
Let's start the interview.
Let's do it.
Now, this show actually started in July. Well, not this particular episode, but the show in general.
This show will be still going in July this year, though. It won't.
Well,
this very episode.
Wow, that goes back to the Minister for Communication and Arts. But I'm sure I feel pretty good.
Yeah. I know people.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
How amazing.
No, well, if we keep going for 8 hours, and someone picks this up and syndicates it,
Done.
The writer's strike's over.
There you go.
We could
Wow.
just keep going forever. Anyway, sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, yes, you did.
It's my habit.
But so well.
Middle child.
Yes.
I'm going to do
right.
it.
Question time's over.
Yes.
And,
Sorry. Yes.
But the first, since July 2017, this show started, and we're still going like 7 years later. We're in our 4th year on Channel 31.
Amazing.
Yeah. Ballarat represent. And for that 7 years, our first question to our guests, where were you born?
In a hospital.
No test yet.
All right. Have you ever had that answer before? You have.
No,
you
are the first person.
Yes.
Ha 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 ha. Oh, my sides are breaking.
It's like when someone comes up with a nickname that you've heard your entire life and they think they're hilarious.
And you just go,
yeah, that's right. Oh, great. Someone should point that out to me, that Harriet Jumpjet sounds a lot like my first name. Yeah.
But I said,
so I was born in Melbourne at a hospital that was demolished. And
before, during, or after?
Right. Well, yes, probably. So apparently, when my mother went into labour, it was a beautiful, stunningly spring, sunny day, and blue sky, birds, the whole shebang. After I was born, it was the biggest thunderstorm that anyone had seen for quite some time. And the sky was black, and you know, it's the shape of things to come. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's an omen.
It is an omen. Damien and the omen. It wasn't quite that bad. I hope it wasn't that bad. No Rottweilers. Actually, I did have. Oh no! I did have Rottweilers as family pets growing up. So I'm starting to get a bit concerned for myself now.
Yeah, there you
Thank for
go.
that.
Fantastic. Now, I did, before tonight's interview, I did find your name on the Wikipedias. And
Do you find that weird that you have a Wikipedia? Because you'd have a Wikipedia page.
yeah, of course we have. I made it
That's
myself.
strange.
No, literally I did. And they keep going, we need more information or else we'll axe you. It's like, and your whole name,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to get this right, so please,
Go for it. No, you should have a go.
thank you,
Yeah.
is Harriet Claire
Yes.
Kim Wu Wing Shin Ching.
Almost.
Chin Sing, no. Chin Sing, no.
I mean, if you kept going probably for the 8 hours we're allowed to stream this episode before
second, yeah.
Facebook nukes it, then you might have gotten there. Harriet Claire Sumei Wong King Jing.
Wow. That's a cracker of a name. And that's a real meshing of two cultures you've
Yeah,
got there.
so Harriet and Claire, obviously anglicised, or Anglo first and middle names, and then Sumei means little pretty or pretty flower.
Oh.
That's also a lie. And Wong, family name, and King and Shing also family names. So and a anglicised, King is anglicised. So, and that's what happened with a lot of people who arrived in Australia from all sorts of different countries. That people anglicised names because they were easier to spell, or because people at the borders misspelled them, and documents became the formal way of identifying yourself.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you said you're the middle child, so there's three of you?
So two brothers older than me, and then twins below me. So I was.
Oh gosh, 1 in 5.
I know that, deeply the most unspecial member of the family, which it's fine. See, thank you. Other people feel this too. That's it's a lot of us, but you have to be able to kind of get your elbows out and get stuck in, and so I have a loud voice, and I'm prone to being very annoying, and it's probably a good thing I'm in the upper house where nobody pays any attention whatsoever, because it means that I can talk until they turn me off at the mains.
Well practiced from your youth through.
Yeah, well, I can't quite believe sometimes when I go into Parliament that they give me a microphone. So used to bellowing to get people in for dinner that you're used to needing to project it straight from the diaphragm.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your life has been one of service. What is, as a child, what's your first memory of being of service to someone or something?
Oh, this has turned deep, hasn't it? Okay, I would say first.
You know what? I think this is the
Memory
first time I've
service.
seen you without words.
No, this is my thinking phase. I reckon my first memory of service would be feeding the dog. Yeah, and as a result, I have not enough dogs, and like to surround myself with animals, and then public service as well obviously comes into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Actually, no, it doesn't come into that at all. I would quite like to take my dogs everywhere as public service, but people figure in it as well. No, we're not.
Damien.
No, I haven't had Rottweiler since I was
Okay,
little.
right.
Yeah.
Because I always find it really interesting because what people tend to gravitate towards hasn't been sort of like getting out of bed one day and going, you know what, I think I'm going to go into politics. Like it's come from somewhere. It's come from a bit of a journey. Within your family, are you a family of givers? Are you a family of people who are of service to the community?
Yes. So a family of public servants, and so Mum was a social worker for many, many years. Dad was a GP for many decades, and is still, very, very active. And my younger brother and sister are in health, and my older brother he works in the public service. So yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Amazing.
Yep.
Amazing.
And then I'm the one who talks about public service undertaken by all of my siblings, and the fact that they quite literally save lives. And I get a microphone that works. I know, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Revenge.
Well, yeah, that's right.
That's great. So high school, did you get on to debate teams or anything like that?
I did.
Look at you going,
No, well, I kind of.
how did you peg that?
I know, right? I was like super annoying, right? Really precocious, sort of curious, quite intense person. I know I don't give off that vibe any longer.
Sure.
But it was one of those, love music, love, debate and argument, and I read, I sucked up as many books as I possibly could growing up, and in my first speech in Parliament I thanked my librarian because she was amazing. There's not a week that goes by that I don't think of her, and the fact that she removed any borrowing limit and let me read whatever I wanted and fed my curiosity, in wanting to just discover as many universes as possible. And that was amazing. And then, had incredible teachers who recognised that I needed to be kept busy, a bit like, like a puppy, basically. If you leave it unsupervised, it's just going to destroy a whole lot of things that you really like. So, keeping me busy and occupied with something that my best teachers did, and again, to this day, deeply, deeply indebted to them. So I've gone off on a complete tangent.
No, you haven't. That was wonderful. It's kind of like, because, everyone, I think children who are affected by wonderful adults will carry them for a lifetime. And I think out of the 7 years that we've been doing interviews on the show, I think it's the first time somebody's gone, the librarian fed the fire.
Are amazing.
Yeah.
Librarians. And that's one of the reasons why when we talk about drag story time and we talk about creating safe spaces for kids to discover new universes and to read all sorts of books, librarians are the ones who are the tour guides through those universes and the ones who make and keep us safe. And the work of librarians is second to none in providing a non-judgmental, warm, inclusive space that goes far beyond books and far beyond telling someone to be quiet. It's about saying, let your mind explode with all sorts of wonderful experiences, and know that whoever you want to be and however you want to be, there will be a place for you in a library somewhere, somehow.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. We need to go for a short break. When we come back, we will have some more wonderful chat with the impeccable Minister Harriet Shing. Right after this. And we're back just on Facebook.
Yeah.
There's some people in the thread. Daria Beatley. Hi, Lance. Hello, Daria. Johnny Wombat. We've missed you, Lance. I've missed you too, Johnny Wombat. And for those of you who have access to CTV Plus, which is the community TV app, you can watch Johnny Wombat's show, I think 11:30, correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, 11:30 tonight on Channel 31. It's Wombat and Goose out of the can, and they show a whole bunch of short films, original short films. Chloe Rowe, librarians are amazing.
Yeah. Aren't they? They're so amazing.
Harper Francis, Finitash Timmins, yay for Iberians.
Nice. Nice.
Iberians. Hello to anybody from Iberia. And Auntie Tudor, Auntie is watching at home. Hello, Anne. got yourself home after a couple of glasses of bubbles, said hi to Harriet and went home to
Love it.
see how Puppo's
The
going.
wonderful Anne.
Yeah, right?
Oh, isn't she amazing? What a total warrior.
Yeah, yeah, unstoppable.
Unstoppable, amazing, kind, a life of purpose and grace.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What do we think about Anne Tudor, everybody? There we go. And Chloe Rowe. Yay for Rottweilers also.
Oh, yes. Giant lazy slugs.
Big
They're just
square
the most,
heads.
like the giant head like an ice cream bucket. Like they're just fantastic.
And the dribble.
Just, yes. So now I have the opposite of that.
What do you have now?
I have rehomed greyhounds, a dementing whippet, and this strange little mutt thing, and then donkeys as well.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
How many donkeys have you got?
I have 2 donkeys. Yay. I would quite like a dozen. I'd like a fleet of...
A fleet of donkeys.
Well, I have a fleet of dogs now, which basically means I wander around and I'm followed systematically by this sort of trail. Pretty much.
This is
No,
hilarious.
I'd like elephants, but that's not going to happen.
Bigger property.
And then donkeys.
Welcome back. You're watching Lance TV, and we're chatting. I've got our floor manager pointing at all the cameras, and I'm a bit thrown. We're here now. Amazing. There you go. So all of that. I don't retract any of what I just said, but we're here with the wonderful Minister Harriet Shing. And for those watching at home, if you would like to pose a question to Minister Shing, you can do so by finding us on Facebook at Lens TV Ballarat. Pop a message in and we will ask on your behalf. Ran out of breath then.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Happens.
In your formative years, which is a little bit older than what we were just talking about in the first part, you found yourself at university at some point. What?
Not by accident. It was a pretty good bus service back in the day.
Fantastic.
The old 703. It was good.
Wow. Where did that take you to, Latrobe? No.
Monash.
Oh. What did you do out at Monash?
I spent a lot of time doing student politics.
You did so.
I know, right? Wild. Who would have thunk? And I did arts and then honours. So I spent part of that time in Germany and law.
Law?
Yeah.
So any particular flavour of law or just law?
I ended up doing workplace relations and employment law, and that's what I practiced when I finished my degree after 741 years of part-time study.
I've told you a million times, Harriet, don't exaggerate.
Yeah. Not so impeccable now, am I? I really love the nature of a contract, because when it works well, it's actually a thing that's really clear and easy to understand. And this is how nerdy I am, right? This is why I love the library. When you have a good use of words that is understood by people in the same way, it creates an elegance that prevents disputes as well as setting out the way in which you resolve them. Which then means that when it's not done properly and it's not done well, when law isn't created with a measure of certainty in it or of an understanding of how people's rights are affected, it's a terrible thing indeed and can be used in a way that weaponises systems against people who actually really do need the benefit of access to rights and entitlements and outcomes that will make their lives immeasurably better when they're provided. And work choices was one example of a system of industrial relations reform that prompted my interest in politics. I got really angry about the fact that with the stroke of a pen, a Commonwealth government could decide that you could just sack anyone for all but a very small number of reasons. And still to this day, we see that people in vulnerable industries and women and young people often don't have access to the same basic terms and conditions of employment that are written in law, because it's a take it or leave it thing, and because, you know, in too many circumstances, particularly with the cost of living being what it is, you have people who will be working multiple jobs in the gig economy or in retail and hospitality, and that's where, again, if the choice is to put up with substandard employment conditions or to not have a job, people will tend to suffer in silence. See, I've gone off on another tangent.
No, you haven't. No, because,
really, really
because what you're talking about there really is, like, in amongst that, you're really hitting the nail on the head regarding social justice.
Yeah.
And that really is where you live, in that whole social justice world.
Yeah, and also pointy policy. Like, I really love, again, how would you ever peg this about me? I love getting into the detail on, you know, on what makes for good policy. And this is where I think government has a role to play, not just in setting that policy, but in reflecting what communities want and need, rather than being detached from that. And I think our parliaments and our governments for a really long time, in being comprised of, you know, straight, white, rich blokes, have not been reflective of communities and of the pride and identities and priorities of communities. And that's changing now. I mean, just this week in the Victorian Parliament, we have achieved 50% of the Parliament is women, due in large part... Due in large part to the Allen Labor government. We have now more than half the cabinet is women. Daniel Andrews' successor in the seat of Mulgrave, Eden Foster, who gave her extraordinary inaugural speech this week, is the first woman of Indian Australian heritage in the lower house. And this diversity is really, really important. It's not a symbolic token cosmetic thing. It means that the lived experience and the perspectives of people from so many more walks of life are informing the sort of debates that we're having and the
They're
decisions
getting a place at the table,
that are being
right?
taken. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it's an equal place. You know, when I first arrived in Parliament in 2014, the toilets, they have toilets there that say members only, and a lot of them were still urinals. You know, what am I supposed to do with that?
Stand up and wait.
Stand up. That's right. Harriet, you should be able to think of a solution. Use your brain. No, but that's sort of emblematic of, you know, of some of the challenges of tradition, you know, and of a resistance to change. And since then, and you look at policies that we've got around pads and tampons in our schools and across public places and being accessible, that hygiene is a really important thing to provide so that we have better participation in learning and in public places, whether it's courts or TAFE or whatever. And that sort of thing has changed because we've got so much more diversity in our parliaments now, where need is being identified, where it's not just about a certain way of viewing the world informing all of the decisions that are taken. It's about lived and direct experience.
Amazing. Yep. Amazing. We're going to take this moment to go to another ad break, because I had lots more questions than I know.
Yeah.
No, but within what you were saying, and
Yeah,
I just know that if I asked now, we would be 8 hours.
8 hours.
So
we'd hit the wall.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But maybe I'll ask you in Facebook
Sure.
to get their reaction. We will be back with more Minister Harriet Shing right after this short break.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
So we're on Facebook right now, everybody. What I wanted to ask you though, like, given all of that you were talking about, I mean, the social justice aspect, how can social justice swim against the tide of what's it called, that happened in the 80s, Margaret Thatcher, this is the way forward.
Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
No, it's a... Neoliberalism, thank you,
right.
Jay.
Yep.
Yeah, in the face of that, which is very anti-social justice and social rights. How does social justice battle against that?
Well, we still have the last remnants of this thing staggering into obsolescence, trickle-down economics. And the idea of that is that if you give essentially the most powerful and wealthy parts of a society access to resources and decision making, including in the way that people within those structures provide labour, then eventually through their success there will be a trickle-down impact that means that people have jobs and get better incomes.
And then we all woke up.
And what could possibly go wrong? And it's been disproven time and time again.
Sure.
And time and time and time again. What we see now, I think, is through a range of sectors and industries, these races to the bottom, where you go from, you might have a duopoly that moves into a monopoly, whether it's social media or airlines, whether it's supermarkets or banks. And there is almost a preparedness to turn a blind eye to exploitation or to really some pretty rampantly terrible behaviour. And we've seen multiple royal commissions, for example, and commissions of inquiry, whether it's been into aged care or into banks and lending institutions, that have shown these really just dreadful systemic just chasms of inequity.
We see that in housing as well, right?
Yeah, housing is...
Welcome back. We are watching Lance TV. I'm here with Harriet Shing. This is my sign. It's the studio. Are we able to turn a camera onto the studio audience, or maybe not yet? Maybe somewhere along the way. Just randomly do it while our floor managers now moving around to the camera. We've been having this wonderful chat with you, Minister. You know, we've learned a little bit about your past. We understand now what particular parts of your name means, which is great. In your role as Minister, you're the Minister for Water, for Equality and
Housing. Yeah.
Which is, they're three really big, sort of bulky things to look after. Tell us about those. Like how did you choose them, or were they bequeathed to you?
No, they're the appointments are the gift of the Premier. So you get a phone call. And
tag, you're it.
No, well, basically, it's so you know the process is that you sort of wait for a phone call, and then you try to appear all casual when you're picking up the phone, and it's almost like picking up your Garfield handset when you're in year 8 or whatever. And I never had one of those. I've probably still got some yearnings for a hamburger phone or something equivalent. But so you pick up the phone and you're all nonchalant, and then you get asked to undertake certain portfolios.
Danny baby, what can I do for you?
Well, it wasn't quite how it was. It's almost like you were there. Yeah, so it's a profound honour, and the portfolio selection was the Premier's, and so when she said, would you keep the portfolios of water and equality and take on housing, I mean, it was a rhetorical question, because of course the answer is yes. Yeah.
Really, really big. Especially with housing, I know that there's at least 1 or 2 housing workers in the audience this evening. Housing is one of those issues that just continues to get worse and worse. And we go back to the neoliberalism of the 80s and everyone going, oh, let's negative gear and we'll buy 500 houses and we'll be all right. But other people can't get into the market, and that's the nature of neoliberalism anyway. And things are getting worse. Housing stocks are getting worse, social housing. How does one keep their head above water with the portfolio of that? Like, you must have a lot of people knocking on your door going, you have to help me. How does that all, what does that look like?
Well, housing actually goes across about 6 portfolios, and it goes across so many portfolios because it's not just about a home in a certain place, in a certain configuration. So my portfolio of housing, that covers social housing and homelessness, which includes crisis accommodation, that temporary housing model, as well as into social housing, which includes public and community housing. And within the space of that portfolio, there's about $6.3 billion under the big housing build, and that includes $1 billion of housing most recently announced in the middle of last year for rural and regional Victoria. We also then have the development of additional housing, bringing that extra housing online, whether it's for key workers or for private development. And we put out a housing statement in September last year, which is about the frameworks that we need, the planning controls and the changes, the sorts of approvals and streamlining. And it sounds really bureaucratic, but if that translates to something like being able to put a granny flat on your land without needing a planning permit, that's the sort of thing that alleviates some of the pressure on the system.
But you have to have the land to start with.
Well, you need at least 300 square metres.
Yeah.
And from December, that's been able to be done. You still need a building permit though, so for anyone out there tempted to say they're just going to whack something together, that's not okay. It does need to be compliant with basic safety standards because that's important. But you're right, land is one of those really big challenges, which is why the housing statement has enabled government to look at repurposing vacant government land across the state, and to making it easier for development of medium density housing within built up areas, because we've got a challenge over the next few decades. By 2051, Melbourne will be the size of London in population terms.
Gosh, okay.
And that's enormous. And we also know that the targets that we've set in the housing statement, so 80,000 new homes a year for the next 10 years, it's a really ambitious target, but we can't afford not to be really ambitious in this space because of population growth, affordability. It's never been harder to get into the housing market. And when I talk about different portfolios being part of all of this, it's also about programs like the Home Buyers Fund, and that's a shared equity scheme, which means that home buyers who can save as little as 5% of a deposit can then get a government assistance scheme buy-in. That means that the government has equity in their home, so that up to 25% of the price of the home is met by a combination of a safe deposit and government, which then means you don't need mortgage insurance.
Yeah, but then there's a certain age of people, say people in their late 50s, early 60s, who can't get a loan from the bank, who don't have, 300 square metres of property, and there's no social housing to go to.
Well, there is social housing to go to, but we have a really big set of challenges, which is why the $6.3 billion that I referred to, that's about bringing extra housing online. So that will facilitate, we've already done about 9,200 of those homes. We'll get to 16,000 additional social housing homes across Victoria. There is a wait list. There is an increased demand. We are seeing...
And increased times as well.
Absolutely, and we are seeing increased uptake of homelessness and crisis accommodation and supports for a range of reasons, again, including the cost of living, including the sorts of challenges around disadvantage. We are seeing that certain demographics, so younger people who are at risk of homelessness, are needing to access that crisis accommodation and support. And it's really hard to actually get the numbers on that, because often people couch surf for long periods of time. Yeah,
there was
a really complex area.
Something on the radio, I think it was ABC, I think it was last week, that the current housing situation is 1.1%. It's kind of like... So
of rental vacancies.
Yeah, and that's like...
Yeah.
Crazy town.
That's right, and it is incredibly difficult. And again, the housing statement, when I come back to the point that I made earlier about it being about multiple portfolios, when you look at rental issues, the statement itself sets up Rental Dispute Resolution Victoria, right? So that's an alternative to VCAT, where, I mean, we want tenants and landlords to be able to work well together, to have a relationship whereby a landlord knows that their asset will be taken care of and a tenant knows that they will have secure accommodation under fair terms, right? So we've put a limit on the number of times you can increase the rent. There are going to be further reforms to Residential Tenancies Act. We've made 130 changes to that Act to make it easier. You know.
Well done, you.
No, but
Yay!
that might be something as simple as being able to have a pet, you know, in your rental accommodation,
Sure.
or being able to get access to repairs, you know, to address urgent concerns. But it's also about saying, you know, you can't turf somebody from, I shouldn't use that word.
I know, it made me laugh as soon as you said it. But look, before you go into that bit though, we do need to go for a short break.
What a clanger that was.
Well, I know. What a way to go. Bite a turf.
Yeah.
We will be back. We need to go for a short break because we're in the home stretch. When we come back, we will continue a rather short and quick conversation right after this. And we're back on Facebook, everybody. What have we got here? Harper Francis, Finitash Timmins, Kelpie Power.
Oh, Kelpies are good.
And T Tudor, Fab Labs.
Labs are fab.
Chloe Rowe, that is well said. Women and minorities can be very vulnerable from work to housing. Change is slow, but it is in the right direction. Dr. Sean Mulcahy, Happy Line Wangaratta Pride! Yay! Chloe Rowe, I have a transient lifestyle and I see a lot of homeless free camping and it's increasing. So Chloe actually has a van life and sees a lot in the world. What's your response to just increased homelessness that is particularly in regional Victoria?
Yeah, we've increased homelessness supports and every year there is an increase, so it's at least $100 million in last year's budget. But, I mean, that's a number. It takes staff on the ground, it takes people from across our community organisations and the social and community services sector, amazing people who do extraordinary work. But again, being able to reach everybody is really hard because often people won't come forward. COVID brought a lot of that to the fore and we were able to address homelessness in a really significant and immediate way. The trick is holding on to what we have done and providing that transitional housing, and councils are playing a really big role in that work as well. The community organisations, so St Kilda Mission and a range of others, Sacred Heart, they do a lot of work in that space, but we also need all levels of government to do that work. The Commonwealth has done a lot to recognise the issue. We just want to see that funding continue to come through so that we can all be pulling in the same direction.
And have you got any feedback about the housing being built for Ballarat?
Which housing?
There's
a lot of housing. There's
a lot
development, there's social
Michaela,
housing.
I think it's, wasn't there talk about the Commonwealth Games Village?
Oh yes, yeah. So the it's now a King's Caveat, was removed from the site.
So I love you. How wonderful. Welcome back. You're watching Lance TV. I am Lance de Boyle. This is Minister Harriet Shing. And that's the studio audience. Yay! Back to me. There we go. We have reached the point in the show, we've got another pre-record that we can talk over the top of. This little segment is called All Over the Shop. All over the shop. Well, let's see what's happening. In Ballarat, the Art Gallery of Ballarat, on Sunday the 11th, is Black Design Workshop with Dr. Deanne Gilson, who you would have seen at the top of the show doing Our Welcome to the Country. Miranda, Picnic and Hanging Rock directors Georgia Maguire again at the Art Gallery. There's a beautiful series of conversations happening. If you haven't been to the Art Gallery of Ballarat, I suggest you go. Gay Times 2024 at Chamber Victoria. That's coming up on the 23rd of February for a beautiful weekend at the Gilwell Park South. Dr. Rob and versus the Independent Theatre down there at Acton Street, St Kilda on the 24th of February. Dr. Rob is a new Ballaratian, Californian. Sunday the 25th of February, Uncoordinated Queers are having an archery day at Kelly Street North at Lake Gardens. On the 6th of March, Ballarat Spoken Word with the lovely Marty Monster at the Ballarat Original at TBH Studios. Peter Sparkman has a photographic exhibition at Chill Out on 7th of March, so just a little placeholder to go. Chill Out's coming, everybody. Hope to see you there. Bendigo Pride Festival is happening on the 13th of March in Bendigo. The size of that progress day. Amazing. And of course, I'm going to take you to the opportunity to go. The 1st of June, hold this date for the Pride Gala at Lardner Park. Leather and lace. Are you wearing both or one or the other?
Yes.
Sure. And of course, the Festival of Australian Queer Theatre is coming up on the 22nd to the 25th of August. That is an initiative of Lens TV Incorporated, and we're very proud to say thank you to the City of Ballarat for their kind support, to Aussie Broadband who have come on as supporters, and of course our special thanks to the Department of Fairness, Families and Housing. I always say Friends, Families and Housing, but yes, for their support for this inaugural festival. It's coming up in August for Ballarat. First time in Australia. We're doing it here in Ballarat. So yeah. I love the audience shot. We're just going to the audience shot the whole time now. Everybody look over there and wave. Look over there. Oh, look over there and wave. Yay! There you go. It's amazing. Look, we're in the throes of this. We've got about 4 minutes. Is there anything that you would like to share with all of us, all the streamers and the audience watching in their homes down in Melbourne and Geelong?
Yep, see, I'm
Turn around every now and then.
I was going to ask if anyone else wanted to split an order of 600 litres of carbonated beverage I bought on the way here. It's actually really lovely to connect, and I think one of the things that we've gotten so much better at is online connection and in-person connection. So being able to interact with three-dimensional people is great, but also participating in events online has been just so lovely. And to anyone who's celebrating our Lunar New Year and Spring Festival and Tet, have a great time. The next 2 weeks is going to go absolutely bonkers. I've got a lot of cleaning of the house to do, which you have to sort all of that out. But it is the Year of the Wood Dragon, so I hope that anyone celebrating this year will be able to catch up with family and friends, and of course spend time with excellent people doing excellent things, and a lot of eating. There's a lot of eating involved in.
Amazing! Yay! Yay! It's great. Have you actually found this part of the year?
Yeah.
Has it been unusually super busy for you?
Well, it's always sort of busy because there's things like Midsummer and Pride March and so many activities we've got around rural and regional Victoria. We've also got, school goes back and kinder starts and Parliament starts, and all of your summer glow has disappeared, so you really need to muster a whole lot of energy and activity, and then the year's in full swing. It's nearly Christmas.
Yeah, all over again. Yeah, it'll be tax time, and you blink, then it's Christmas.
Tax time and then Christmas.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
With the grand final. I mean, if you follow, and that's the changeover, isn't it, between cricket to footy?
Wow, yawn, but go on.
No, I don't know either of these things either. And I support anyone doing team sport, and I hope everyone has a good time.
That's right, and that's the main thing. Yeah. Did you try and wrap me up then, Cheryl? Fantastic. So to everybody on the studio audience, give yourself a big round of applause. please keep it going. Minister Harriet Shing.
Let's boil.
And before we go, it's tradition here on Lance TV.
Yes.
Thank you for being a guest on the show. And you get a photograph of me saying, I was on Lance TV.
I'll treasure it always.
And this bag.
This is going straight
To the pool room. Oh, yum.
Yeah, yeah. Let me
And this
just-
special, where are we? And this special Tiny Pride bag, but
Thank you.
don't
Tiny
open
Pride.
it.
Tiny Pride is amazing. They do fantastic work, and everybody.
Yay!
Big fan. Thank you.
From us here at Lance TV to you, take care, be kind, and kongi fat joy. Yes!
Thanks for watching Lance TV. We'll be back same time next week. I'm voiceover guy Randall Smith. See you next time. Lance TV is made possible through funding from the Community Broadcasting Foundation.